Welcome back to another episode of the Capes and Tights podcast right here on capesandtights.com. I'm your host, Justin Soderberg. This episode, we welcomed Jesse Lundberg to the podcast, comic book artist and creator, to talk about various things in the comic book industry. We touched a little bit on Jesse's artwork, but a lot of random stuff. So this is a cool episode, chatting as bros and just hanging out. So check out this episode. But before you do, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, as well as check us out on Facebook or on Apple, Spotify, and all our major podcasting platforms. This is Jesse Lundberg, comic book creator and artist who has done variant covers for Mad Cave, Dynamite, Scout, and so many more publishers, as well as he's done sketch cards for Dynamite and Upper Deck. So check out this episode with Jesse Lundberg, comic book creator and artist. Enjoy, everyone. Welcome.
It gives me an announcement. There we go.
It gives you an announcement. Yes. Welcome to the podcast, Jesse.
Oh, wait.
What does it say?
I need to push this. Okay. There we go. Just in case.
Just in case. Hey. Oh, it warns you because of the two, like the state law, the like station law, or whatever, that you have to approve someone recording.
That I have to agree to be. That would have sucked had I not pushed that button, and it just gives a one-sided conversation the entire time.
It doesn't actually let me know that you didn't press OK, and I'm just talking and
yeah.
Afterwards, I'm going and editing it, and I'm talking like you've been like, he said this. I swear, I promise he said this response.
It's like Garfield without Garfield. It's just John going through his day.
Is that a thing? That should be a thing. I feel like a YouTube video of that would be amazing.
Oh yeah, I was
way more entertaining than a one-sided conversation with me. I'll tell you that much.
He's going insane. He's always been insane. He's going insane.
Yeah. See, people don't tune in to watch me or listen to me. They definitely tune in to listen to you guys. So if it was a half a conversation with just me, they'd be like, "Yeah, I'm done with this podcast. I'm done listening to this."
I mean, with a name like mine, you're gonna get ones of viewers. It's great. So
well, I mean, listen, if you listen to it, we're up one.
Yes,
Paul from Galactic Comics will listen to it. He usually plays it in the store, so that's good.
I know a few of my friends are like, "Oh, cool. Let me know when it's out." So
see, we got 5 people. That's cool.
We'll
break records. We'll break records here. But yeah, we were talking for a little bit before we started recording, and I'm waiting for a baby to come, which is cool. I'm excited about that. Well, I should be excited about that, except for my kid who's 3 won't sleep right now, and I'm like, dude, I just need 2 more weeks of sleeping, like just 2 more weeks. Yeah. He slept through the night, no problem. Then he got a really bad cold, and he was coughing at night, and so he'd be afraid to go to bed at night because he was afraid he was going to cough. And so then his sleep schedule got kind of screwed up, and he now won't go to bed or will go to bed no problem, then wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And so there's this whole back and forth thing. I'm like, dude, just give me 2 weeks of great sleep.
Really, he's just preparing you.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking to myself, I'm a gentleman too, because when my son wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning, in my 37-week-old or 37-week pregnant wife, I'm not gonna be like, can you roll yourself out of bed so you can go help our son while I sleep? I'll just get up and do it. Yeah.
Go check
that. Yeah. Can you get out, please?
Sounds
just
like
go.
A mommy problem.
Or she'll try, and you can just hear her trying to get out of bed, and I'm like, okay, enough. I'll get up.
Listen, you're telling me that you're not there hey, do you need a shove?
Hold on, we just turn here. We just kick my feet a little bit and see if it'll push you out. But no. So I was wondering a week or 2 of sleep would be great, but I guess you're right. I'll just get some practice here of waking up.
Yeah, he's you got to train for it, so he's getting you prepared.
But there is a difference, and you understand this, I think, too. Is there's a difference between you don't know when your son's going to wake up in the middle of the night to knowing that you have to wake up every couple of hours to see.
Schedule that you need to. Yeah.
You're okay, I got to get 2 hours of sleep. Most likely, this is great, cool, awesome. But then if you're cool, I'm going to get 2 hours of sleep or a whole night's sleep, and then at 1 o'clock in the morning he wakes up, and you're like, oh, whatever. But then you're like, wait, did he move? Yeah. So
the most unnerving night of sleep you'll ever get, and you probably remember experiencing this, is the first time the kid sleeps all the way through the night. And then you wake up and you're like, oh my God, what happened?
Yeah. You're checking the camera on your phone. You're like, oh yeah, okay.
There's movement.
Oh God. But yes, exactly. Because you're like, what what happened? Why did he sleep through the night? Is
Yeah,
he
yeah,
okay?
yeah. It's the most terrifying slash happy because you're like, oh my god, they're finally sleeping all the way through the night. But yeah, that first instance when you wake up, you're like, oh crap.
That and when your son's playing really loudly and then doesn't make a noise for like 10
Mm-hmm.
minutes, you're like, okay, either he's hurt and just like immediately something really bad happening and he wasn't enough where he couldn't cry, or he's getting into shit and he's doing something he's not supposed to be doing. And most
Don't
of the
be
time it's just
suspicious.
he's getting into something he's not supposed to be doing. But um I haven't
You're
had
like, the
him
most
hurt
suspicious
himself.
thing
So
you can do is be quiet while being suspicious. Like,
yeah,
if you
make
could
some
make
noise.
some more noise while you're doing it, you're probably going to get away with it.
Bang your hand somewhere, do something, make a car noise or whatever, and then draw on the wall at the same time. Come on, get
Well,
to it.
that's the reason why one of the reasons why Margaret hates like the automatic noise toys,
Mhm.
like ones that will just do it to entice your kid to play, is that could be going off and then you could turn around and the kid's standing right next to you and it's going off in a different room. She's like, I like to know that it's being played with
With
and
yes,
that's where the kid is. We don't have that problem as much anymore. Like Erin's 7, but
yeah, yeah.
um
I told myself one kid, Jesse, too. Like I said, one kid. We talked about it. We were like, we're having one. This is all we're gonna have.
mm,
Yada yada yada. And Nova, my son, is just so good and was so good for the longest time that I talked myself into a second
something's
child.
changed.
That yeah, that
Was
that
so good.
was so good. I mean, now I feel like he has an understanding that his sister's coming and like he's
Mm,
trying for the attention. Like we used to be able to wake
yeah.
up in the morning with him at like 5 o'clock in the morning and go sit on the couch with him or whatever and put on some TV or have him read a book or some sort of like low key, easy thing. Now it's like 5 o'clock in the morning. He wakes us up. He goes in there, goes, let's play cars. Let's do a puzzle. Let's color this. Let's do this. Can you do this? Can you get on the floor? And I'm like, dude, you need to give me
Let's
like
set up the ramp. We're taking a bike off of it. You're 3.
he's like, dude, I'm like, do we need 10 minutes for me to actually wake up, get some coffee, figure
Yeah.
this out? You can't just go write it like in my bed by my bed with a puzzle. I'll be like, can we put this puzzle together? Which means Dada put the puzzle together. He can't put a
Yeah.
puzzle
Yeah.
together at 3 years old. It's me putting it together. But yeah, I feel like he
Yeah.
understands that his sister's coming and that he's trying to get as much attention and effort into us.
See, it's either you're helping me with a puzzle or I'm biting off pieces to make them fit.
No, he would just yell in my name over and over and over again.
Oh
So
yeah.
he'd be like the
Well,
episode of Family Guy where Stewie just goes, "Mama, mama, mama." That's what he would do.
I've got apparently I've got Erin trained pretty well. It doesn't matter what it is. She calls for Margaret first, and I could literally be sitting next to her, and she'll be like, "Hey, mom, can you do something for me?" Or "Come take a look at this." And she's like, "Can't Dad do it? Like
He's
isn't
right
he
there.
right there?" Yeah, well,
And at the
yeah.
beginning, we're both like, just a similar thing happened to me, and we're both like take offense to it. Like we're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe what the heck's wrong with why doesn't my son want me? And then now I'm like, good. I'm gonna watch TV. Ask mama what you want. She'll get you a water. She's in the other room, but she can get your
I'm
water for
gonna
you.
find out what Scooby Doo and Shaggy get into
It's
this time.
no, it's he watched Cars. So we had COVID like 2 years ago
Okay.
in the summer, and he watched Cars 1, Cars 2, Cars 3, and then repeat, right?
Mm-hmm.
We watched it, I don't know, each one 30 times, right? During this time that he had COVID. And we found ourselves him like passed out, falling asleep, and we found ourselves still watching it and being like,
Yeah.
oh, what's gonna happen next? I'm like, we know how these movies go. I could recite them to you right now. I could figure that out.
Yeah.
And then he'll put it on randomly now, and I'll do the same thing. I'm like, oh, cool. This is Cars 1. I'm like, what am I doing? I've seen this movie 150 times, and I'm still captivated by what's going on the screen. And I'm still getting
So
jokes like I didn't know about. Like I
yeah,
just like jokes that I didn't understand or whatever. And it was just kind of funny.
went over your head, or you
Mhm.
you were half paying attention the first time. I've done that with a couple movies where it's been like, I'm half paying attention. Oh, when did that happen? Same time every time it's played. Oh,
But there's other movies that
oh,
I totally ignore. Like, when he puts Paw Patrol on, I'm like, okay, I can't
yeah.
even
We
get into this.
That's not one that gets played here.
But
No, Erin's in the Bluey, but like
yeah,
she's just so like she watch it. She loves the obviously like she's into creepy stuff. So she likes Scooby Doo. She likes um Gravity Falls. She loved
oh yeah,
um I just showed her the '90s Tales from the Crypt Keeper, the cartoon,
Yes.
not the live action. And she's loved that. Um,
And now she won't sleep through the night. Weird. No, I'm just kidding.
no. She sleeps perfectly.
Maybe that's why
Now
she's afraid. She's
it's
afraid to
trying to
wake
get her
up.
to sleep in is the hard part. But
Yes.
today she did. We were out late last night, and she well, late for her. She was up till
Yeah.
9 o'clock. Party animal. Um, but she's one that if she doesn't get like the full 12 hours of sleep, like good luck dealing with her the next
The
day.
next day, yeah.
Um, she's she's a bear. Um, but she woke up today at like 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
She's like, "Wow, I slept in." I'm like, "Well, you also went to bed like 2 hours later than you normally do, so you got up to like you didn't necessarily sleep in. You just didn't get less sleep."
Yes. And see, to me, it's always like my wife and I talked about it. I'd rather have, if we're just home and my son won't go to bed, I'd rather have him go to bed at 7 or 8 and then sleep until or get up early, I mean, than the
Mm-hmm.
opposite. Even though I would rather sleep in the morning, I know I have to get up and do stuff anyway. I get up a couple hours early, whatever. But if I can get him to go to bed earlier, and then I have a couple of hours of just like my wife and I watching TV or reading a comic or doing some art or something like that, like I'd
Mm-hmm.
rather have that than the opposite because I'm not going to do that in the
Yeah,
morning. I'm just going to sleep. So like to me, it's like a wasted time if I don't. So I
yeah,
like the idea of having my son go to bed early, but it is. I'll take sleep when I get sleep, honestly, at this point. But uh,
yeah. Like last, like so, what was it? Saturday and a Sunday. Like I don't know what it was. Uh, Erin was having a sleepover at her grandparents. We had gone out to watch a play, um, and we had gotten home after we hung out with the cast after the play. We went out to dinner with them, and got home, and I don't know why, because I was pretty tired going into the play. Like I was like, I need coffee. I'm gonna fall asleep during this. I was up until 6 a.m. Sunday morning,
it's
like just staring at the ceiling, going, "What?"
yeah,
Like it was bad. And then
the world did not want you to
asleep.
sleep.
I finally fell asleep about 6 a.m. and I slept till about 10. Kind of woke up, fell back asleep until about 11. But then like my whole day was shot. I'm just like,
Yep.
so I'm still recovering. Like I hate it that it used to be that you could do that like no problem. And I'm 38 now, and now it's like you do that, you're recovering for like the next
Yep.
3 days, just
Mhm.
trying to get back that sleep cycle that you got screwed out of.
Well, I laughed because I got a new car. I went and got a Kia Seltos, which is funny because I had a lease on my other car that I got right before my son was born. And so
Mm.
like the last time I dealt with my sales guy from Kia, they were like, "Were you just having a baby when you bought your last car?" I'm like, "Yeah." Every time I have a new child, I'm gonna have a new car. And they looked at him and go, "And this is the last one, so I might not ever buy a car again. So this is my car I get buried in because I'm not having another child, so I can't buy another car." Um, no, it has this like
They're like,
party
let's give you the extended warranty then.
this party mode in my car. So like when they play music in it, the like lights on the floor, like the like mood lighting changes to the music and stuff like that, which is like cool and all. But I'm like, I'm never gonna use this. First of all, I listen to a
For
lot of
that time you
podcasts.
need a rave in your car.
I listen to a lot of podcasts and audiobooks. Like this is not gonna like they don't work the
Yeah, like
same. And I looked at them, I go, and I don't remember the last time I was out past 7 o'clock because I have a 3-year. So
that too. It's like
the lights are not gonna be on.
I find that funny. It's like so like I used to always listen to music while driving, and now
Yeah.
I always listen to podcasts and stuff. And like I'm one of those guys that listens to NPR.
Yep.
Like I was like, I need to consume, like the NPR is to get, some unbiased news, or as close to unbiased as you can get. Um,
And
you
some news that
know,
doesn't have to do with a comic book character. Because that's the problem I
I
had for the longest time. It was like, I know
yeah,
a lot of news. And they're like, oh, really? Say it. Okay, yeah. Jason Aaron's going to start writing Turtles. And they're like, no, they meant real
no,
news.
like current events. It is
I'm
current.
like, it is
He's
current
on the
event.
next run. Like, oh,
Comicbook.com. Have you read it? Like, no, you need legit. I'm like, oh, okay. That's the problem. Yeah. Yeah. I think
who are we mad with now?
what did
The
Donald
answer
Trump
is,
do this time?
oh God, don't. Don't even get me started. Like, oh my God. No,
No. But no, yeah, it's NPR or podcast or audiobooks to me. That's the thing. It's like my Spotify rap next year is gonna be like, you listen to 1 hour of music. And it's all
yeah.
gonna be like Disney soundtracks. Like, oh, that was when my son wanted to cut music in the
Yep.
background. That's what
Yep.
it was.
So because we're in New Hampshire,
Yes.
we had all the political stuff for like the last year. And anytime we drive by a sign, you just hear Erin in the back of the car. Ugh, Donald Trump, or ugh, Nikki Haley. Like, she is so done with it. I'm like, get ready, it's about to get worse.
Oh, it's gonna get worse. And I mean, yeah. Well, maybe she'll be in the debate clubs and stuff like that in school and stuff like that because of it. Maybe she'll be
Yeah, I don't know how well the debate of, and what do you have to say in response? Oh,
oh, that's her slogan. She's gonna run for office. You
well
want to know why you
put.
should vote for
Very
me?
well put.
Why you should vote for me? It's all the other candidates are. Oh,
You know
that's
what?
why you should vote for me.
You know what? I feel like a third party person could run this year, and just their slogan be ugh, and
I'm
everyone
not.
be like, I get it.
I'm not one of those two. So vote for me. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well,
But
that's the thing is like, you can either join the cult of
mhm.
MAGA, or you can like I feel like the other side isn't as cultish, but like
Mhm.
I don't like him either.
No one does. But that's what we've dealt with
And
for the past. Not to get super political on here, but that's what we've dealt with in the
yeah,
past
yeah,
since I've been able to vote. I'm 37, so I've been able to vote right around the same amount of time you've been able to vote,
yeah, yeah.
and we've dealt with that since the beginning. It was like, let's just vote for the person
As I've
that's
told other
not
people,
the
like
worst
the
person.
last,
Like,
yeah, the last thing I'll say on the matter is I would finally like to be able to vote for someone that's not the lesser of two evils.
which is gonna be super hard because that's just like we're so ingrained into everything
Yep.
over the years that it just ends up turning out the same. The fact of the matter is that the red party uh is still backing this person who's like in trouble. Like that's the point where we're in this society that we're in, that we're like,
And
okay, let's not pick a different candidate. There's tons of candidates
mm,
out there, but let's still back this person and talk about this person who literally started an insurrection. And let's just figure this out. Let's show still this person's the one we should still go
allegedly,
with. Yes, but that's my point. Like we're in this society of that, and the other guy. I mean, like we just mentioned, the other guys, we might
not
have a
great.
not be alive by the end of the terms of the second. Like that's it's a the fate of our world or our country is in the hands of someone who's an awful human being, and then someone who's like older than my
Not
grandparents.
not
Like,
not necessarily not necessarily great, but like better than the opposition.
yes, it is, but it's still, I'm saying, but they're not the glowing bill of health that you'd want. But
No.
could you be what, 35 to run for office? Is that what it is? 35?
Yes.
There's
Yeah.
no 36-year-olds running, are going to run this country who's like, jogging every day.
Yeah.
It's all going to be 50, 60, 70, 80-year-old people.
There's one guy that I'm keeping an eye on. Uh was it Jeffords out of South Carolina? I think it is. I think he, he'll probably be making news in the next decade or so.
That's good. I just read The Dead Zone from Stephen King. I don't know if you've ever read
Mm-hmm.
that, but that's
I have it. I have like every Stephen King book, and I've read about 3 of them.
I just finished it last night, and it's definitely the idea that he can touch people and kind of know
Mm-hmm.
their
Oh,
past,
I
present,
saw.
future. There's a
Did you ever
Christopher
watch the
Walken
old
movie.
TV
Yeah,
series?
was a Walken Christopher Walken movie as well that
Yeah, yeah.
came out in
But
the
Anthony was it
83.
Anthony Michael Hall was in
Yeah,
the. Yeah.
but yeah, so it was like if you touched a candidate and he's gonna like start a war, he's like,
Mm-hmm.
what would you do? And I'm like, dude, that's such a screwed up thought process because like, no, I wouldn't want to go to jail for like killing someone, but also in the same sense, like, could you stop him from killing a bunch of other people because he like did a senseless war and all this other stuff and be a bad political candidate? And I'm like, it's such a hard thing because no, I want to be here for my kids and my family, but in the same sense, like, if you knew you could stop it, but no one would believe you, like, no one would believe you that that's what would happen. Like, it's just like, unless someone can see pictures of what you saw, it's a crazy book. I liked it a lot. I think it's one of Stephen King's better books, honestly. And
Mm.
being from Maine, I am the, you know, tell all be all of, stopping, being the best Stephen King fans ever, you know, forget you New Hampshire
Right.
people or Vermont people. Because you're from Vermont, right?
I'm
Technically.
from Vermont originally. Yeah.
Okay. But you live
Yeah.
in New Hampshire now.
Yes. Oh, that's what his name. I screwed up his name. All of a sudden I said Jefferson. I'm like, I don't think
Yeah.
that's his name. It's Jeff Jackson.
Jeff Jackson.
That's a
That's also a awesome. That's like throwback to like old school presidential names too. Like we need to.
yeah, yeah,
That's a name right there. Jeff Jackson would
yeah.
be or a
Look him up.
basketball player.
Look him up. I think you might agree with some of his stuff.
Yes.
But I
So
want
we
to get the
covered
name.
we've covered topics here for everybody who's gonna listen to this. We covered what it's like to be a parent, which is great.
Yes.
We talked about a little bit of political things. Two things that if someone doesn't give a crap about politics or doesn't have kids, I've already turned off this episode of the podcast, which is
Oh
fine.
yeah. I mean, I'm zoned out already. But no.
but if anybody's kept on going on this thing,
Yeah. Maybe
Jesse's an
sprinkle in some
artist.
comic book stuff, like when
Yes.
editing. You're just like,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
gonna
like
just put
way out of order.
who
I'll
did
just
you
put
vote
everything
for?
like
Thor or Captain America? Oh.
that's what we were actually talking about, guys. We weren't talking about legitimate politics. We're talking about when Steve Rogers is running for president. Um, let's put some nerd things in here. No, the you live in New Hampshire, so we're New Englanders. We live in New England.
Yes.
New England's awesome. New England has a good number of good creators out there right now. A lot of artists, which is great.
There's
Um,
it's surprising for such a small geographical area
yeah,
or population wise.
wise, yes,
Like
yeah.
per
Percentage of
capita.
people to per capita, great talented comic creators to the number of people in this area is it's high in my opinion, and that may
Yeah.
be just because we're both entrenched in it and we're right here in this area. But
Mm-hmm.
when we go to a comic convention or show or things like that, we end up seeing a lot of the people that are like, it's actually nice because I mean I'm friends with the people from like MCTC, Maine Comic and Toy Con, Bangor Comic and Toy Con, things like that. A lot of times they end up bringing a lot of local creators and they're like in our backyard and it's like we don't have to fly
Yeah.
them in. So what do you expect us to do? And I'm like, oh, okay, I
Yeah.
understand that.
Well, I jokingly have said with some other people, it's like, and with special guests, I'm like, why don't you just call them guest in residence? Like they're here all every year. Like not
Well, now
not
it's
that
like,
they, trust me, I'm friends with like all of the guys that are like the guests in residence, but
yeah,
I would be more shocked if they weren't there.
yeah,
Like,
exactly. Well, I worked for a company. I actually worked for a company in Massachusetts used to advertise in the paper all the time. Like they had an ad in the
Mhm.
paper every single day. It was there. And then one day they're just looking at the budgets and they're like, yeah, should we still do this ad in the paper? And I'm like, well, now you've done it long enough that if you don't have it in there, the older people who read the newspaper every day are going to be like, wait, did they close? Because you don't have the ad in there anymore. So now I feel like you're stuck in there.
you need to
doing
have
that
some type of a presence just
in the
to.
it just for those old people looking through the obituaries trying to find out which of
Yep.
their
I
friends
mean,
died.
yeah.
They need to see
Yeah.
that
Did
ad
the owner
there.
die? Where's
And
Jimmy?
so we same thing I felt like with some of these conventions. I feel like the people that need to be there, what they need to end up doing is because they're no one's gonna really fault them for this, is you need to do the Ben Bishop thing and just say you're gonna be there, have them announce you're gonna be there, and then can't make it.
Yeah.
I threw Ben under the bus there, but I'm just joking because he couldn't come over. Again, back to the kids related thing is he couldn't come
Mhm.
over and hang out with us and Maine Comic and Toy Con last year because he just had a
Yes.
baby.
Yeah.
But we were joking. I wanted
To be honest,
this
with
is not
that
a
one-
serious. This wasn't a serious diss at Ben. I don't want to be like
No,
I feel didn't take the tone in
And
that.
to be honest, to be honest, I was surprised that he said like even up to like the day
Yes.
of was like, yeah, I
Yeah,
can
he'll
be
be
there.
there.
I'm like, no,
I would've-
having had a kid, I'm like, no, you're not. It's
I would
like
use
I
this
have
as an excuse. It would have been like, I need to leave the house for an hour. Just come
everyone
over.
would have, yeah. I
Share
mean,
a table with someone.
yeah. I
Sit
mean, I
next to
guess you could
someone.
have done that, but it was no surprise.
I know.
Like,
I'm not.
you know,
I'm giving him shit, obviously. But
yeah. No, I'm just saying, it's like I was more surprised that it still said that he was coming.
Yes, coming. Then
than
actually, yeah.
than just him being like, guys, I like. Not one person there wouldn't have not understood. Like,
Smokey gave
like
shit.
we've got friends who are expecting twins here this spring, and they already have like a young child, and you know, the dad's trying to still like figure out what his schedule's going to be this year, and I'm like, changing diapers. Like,
Yes.
like,
Yes, exactly.
and like he realizes that they like there's already ones that he's like, I'm not gonna do that, I
Yes.
can't do that and stuff like that, obviously. But he's like, I still, you still want to have that presence in the
And,
arena, but then it's the logistical of everything.
but does that boil down to also like the fact that, I mean, you guys like going to conventions, right? Like it's a fun thing to do too. This is not just
Yeah,
clocking into work, everybody, and just going to work, but this is like for someone like yourself who does a lot of variant covers and stuff like that, and is not like a
yeah,
regular, interior artist of a book or regular artist on a
yes.
series. That yes.
I'm actually under contract. I'm working on an all ages book.
Oh, so there you go. But
So,
I guess my point of it is that going to these conventions is somewhat how you supplement or some people make their income, like how you either supplement it or how you make your entire income. And
yeah. I mean,
and so
it's
selling things
getting.
at conventions is a necessary thing. And part of that, the
Mhm.
reason I'm saying that is it goes down to maybe we should pay our artists a little bit more so they don't have to go to all these conventions.
Yeah, I mean, well, like Larry Hama just put up a thing where people are like mailing in stuff to his house, being like, "Hey, could you draw me a picture?" And he's like, my page rate hasn't gone up in 30 years. Like,
Yeah.
if you want something drawn, come see me at a convention.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get paid to do it." And to be honest, he doesn't charge that much. Like, if you wanted a picture, I think the last time it was like $40 for a pencil drawing.
Well, that's my
And
my story about going to see some of these big creators. They don't charge that often for a sketch or
yeah,
something like that. Like obviously, if you
yeah,
buy
I mean,
original artwork, it's a different story. But like a sketch in front of you sometimes is a little bit different. Worth of it's not that expensive.
yeah, yeah. Like I think yeah, the last time I saw him, it was like $40 for a pencil sketch. And it's like, but he's like, could people stop mailing stuff to my home address asking for free stuff?
So I took it off the wall because it makes it easier for you to see, Jesse. But this right here was at
Oh, Perez,
Northeast comic convention. Whatever
40
the hell it's called
bucks.
now.
I think,
40
I think,
bucks. It was $40 or
yep,
yeah, it was $40. And then he signed whatever comics I wanted signed. So I had a couple of comics. I had a first appearance of Captain Britain in
mm-hmm.
US comics. It's hard to see. I had Infinity Gauntlet #1 signed. So he signed whatever comics I wanted to sign. So I had like 5 comics I haven't signed. He took a
Yep,
photo with me and drew a Sharpie sketch of Thanos for me right in front of me for $40
yep.
for a guy
And
who's basically living like that's what he was doing for an income as a senior citizen
I
because the
mean,
fact that he doesn't have like a good retirement from Marvel and all the DC and all that stuff.
right. I mean, he was also like, because I saw it happening. He did get paid for an appearance fee on top of that, but but still $40 for and I think it was like 5 items, and then you could get in line again if
Yeah.
you wanted to.
Yep.
It was like your time. But George Perez also did the greatest thing I've ever seen, and I use it as an example as to what other creators should do, like the big name creators. He had the ticketing system
Mm-hmm. Yes.
where if you got in line, he or an assistant handed you a ticket and he said, "Go and enjoy the con. You come back and you have the lowest number, I sign your stuff right then." Or if
Yeah.
you realize that you're like just a couple numbers away, you can stay. He didn't want people standing in line. He wanted you to go and look at the other creators and enjoy the con. And I'm like, then on the flip side, I saw a couple years ago with Kevin Eastman, people standing in line for 6 to 8 hours. And like, I was on the back end of that, like with the, like I had my own table on the other side of the room.
Yeah.
But I noticed that people, once they were done with Eastman, they kind of went down the turtle line and then left because they're like, I've been standing in this same room for 6 hours. I'm tired of being in this room.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
And
that's I mean I guess and that would also go down to the fact that we're putting on a convention here in Maine.
mm-hmm.
That's a single day convention. So with some of these 3-day conventions, I can see, okay, you get there on a Saturday morning, you wait in line for 4 or 5 hours. Okay, it still sucks, but at least you have all the rest of the day Saturday. You can come back Sunday if you need to do all that stuff. But like on a
Yeah,
single day, some of these single day places, for a little while. Was the Northeast one a single day at one point, or is it always been?
Nah,
It was always two
no, I
days?
think it was always when I did it. It was always 2 days.
Because it was
I don't know.
2015 the last time I went. It was 2015.
The
I don't
last time
remember.
I went
It was at the
was the
Armory or
year
the
that Adam West was there.
yes, that was the it was the George Perez year. It was that year.
Was it still?
I think it was because it was George
No.
Perez
Okay.
was
No.
next to
No.
Adam West.
At yes, but no. He did another appearance a couple years later
Okay.
when they moved it to the mall. It was like one of the last appearances before he
Okay.
passed.
Okay.
Because they brought him and Burt Ward.
Okay.
I had to think of what Robin's. I was like, they
Yeah.
brought Robin. What the hell is his real name? Burt.
But no, so that also I will go back to like one of the things that got me into local conventions. And I always talk about this to Will and Jay, the guys who own the Bangor
Mhm.
Comic and Toy Con and Maine Comic and Toy Con, is that Northeast, the old school Northeast, back in the day Northeast collectibles shows with who they brought in and things like that. Like I met Arthur as a Soydam who did a lot of the Marvel zombie stuff,
The
and
Zombie King.
Steranko.
Yep.
At that one, I met Perez, things like that. They had the 30th anniversary of the Jaws there too, where what's his face
Yep.
who drew the poster of it, and then they had a bunch of the equipment that was there. It was really cool. So like a lot of those
Yeah.
old school shows, that's
And
what
the
got
first,
me into.
the lady that was the first kill.
Yes, and
Yeah.
those shows are the ones that maybe go small. I always in my mind growing up being on the fringe of comics was like San Diego and New York and Boston and all
Mhm.
these other ones. But it's like, no, these local or shows that have these small things have some badass guests and the lines aren't as bad. And
Right.
there's a lot of things like Arthur Soydam.
And generally they charge less.
Yes. But Arthur
Like,
was like, buy a poster or buy something off my table, I'll sign whatever you want.
Yep.
So like if I bought a $20 poster from him, and then by the end of it, I actually ended up buying all 4 of the Walking Dead posters that he had. He had like the 4. He had Rick and Michonne and no one I have left. I've given the other ones away. I have Rick left. It was the zombie girl, the first zombie girl. No, it wasn't. It was what's her face? It was the daughter who Sophia, whatever. It was one of that was a 4 print of that, and it was awesome. And so he signed all of those, and then he signed whatever I want. So I have the Walking Dead #1 wizard variant, and so he signed that and a bunch of other stuff. Same thing with Steranko. Buy something from his table, I'll sign whatever you want, and so on and so forth.
And
I was
talk your ear off for the next half hour
about Stan Lee, and it was that was a fun thing, and we actually tried to get him to come to Maine. Talk about an appearance fee. I won't get into the details on this podcast, but
not cheap.
No, and there's somewhat of a rider that goes along with it. It was a very
Yeah.
And here's the deal: he's an 85-year-old man doing this.
Right?
Still.
Yeah.
I have no qualms with it if you can afford to bring him to your convention. But my other part was just like it's just not feasible to do.
Yeah.
I mean, the number of tickets you'd have to sell because he's coming and so on and so forth. But
yeah.
But those old school those like small conventions, even small enough or they're bigger now, but like Bangor Comic and Maine Comic and Toy Cons, you get to meet some cool people and the lines aren't as big and so on and so forth. Like, so like, don't always, if you're a fringe comic book convention person, don't always think about the big conventions unless you're like live in New York or Boston. Obviously you could walk to the place.
Yeah.
Story.
So like I'm doing Chicago. I'm doing C2E2 for the first time. Yeah. But a buddy is covering the table. I have to get myself there, which is a fee in itself. Yeah. I've already paid for the tickets, and they're like $35 a check bag, and I'm like, that's 140 round trip for our clothes. I'm like, I texted him. I'm like, I'm mailing you my luggage. Yeah. Like it'll cost me like $50.
Do you ever equate? Like, do you ever like think in your mind like how many comics you have to sell to pay for that? Like, okay, at $35, I have to sell 2 variant covers at $20 a piece.
I do that. I do that a lot.
That'd be funny to have that as a checklist on your table, like a menu. Like they used to, we did that for our wedding, for our honeymoon. Like part of our you could buy gifts on our registry was like you could buy us a tank of gas on our honeymoon, and so you could actually go to this website and they had it all broken down like that. That would be kind of a funny thing. Like it's not per cover. There's just a menu of like $20 paid for this, and you get as for free. You get a
Yeah,
variant
buy me
cover
lunch, and it gets you this sketch.
just to show you how expensive it was to get there. People were like, "Holy shit, that's how much it cost you to get here."
I think my buddy said with fees, the table for C2E2 was $500 for a 6-foot table.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, granted, it's 3 days. It's Friday, Saturday,
yeah.
Sunday.
And part of that is to get, I personally think that some of it's to weed out, not I say weed out, that sounds so bad, but like, so you're getting the people that are invested in going, if that makes any sense. Like if you got your table for super cheap or free,
Yeah,
you wouldn't be as invested. I feel like these are you're going to still get the quality, more people who are willing to be there, who are going to sell
I
more
mean,
stuff.
there is that.
Yeah.
There's also, like, I understand that part of my fee is going towards the fee to bring in the celebrity or the name artist or something like that. Like I'm not oblivious to what's happening. Like,
Yeah.
the table rental is what, $30. The space, if you broke it down, might be $100, and then the rest of that money is going to bring in people that are supposed to help drive traffic by my table.
Yeah.
Sometimes that works.
Well, and as a person who's trying to run a convention here, I personally, I 100% feel that. And I would be and truthful with people, is that, like, say it cost, I'm just going to use random numbers. These are not actual numbers. Say it costs $100 to rent a facility, to put a convention on. And you want to have 100 vendors there, you would most likely what we're doing is we're charging each vendor $1 a vendor, if that makes any sense. Like, this is obviously not real numbers, but like that equates that if we get the 100 vendors there, the venue doesn't cost us anything. The vendors paid for the venue, and then if it's going to cost us $50 to bring in Jesse, then I'm going to hopefully sell 10 $5 tickets that equates for me to be able to bring Jesse. So depending on where you put your budget. But wherever you put your budget. But yes, the truth of the matter is, if you're a vendor or artist at a table, it's helping. Yes, helping bring in the other people that cost more. Like, and then hopefully, if you bring in someone like a Steranko or George Perez, obviously that would be very difficult now. But the idea of bringing those people in, they're going to cost you way more than a ticket sale for that person being there is going to be there. You need to offset that with saying, instead of $1 for every table, we're going to charge $2 for every table, because that extra dollar needs to go towards paying for George to be there, in the hopes that George is going to bring in people that are going to walk by Jesse's table and say, "Oh, I like this artwork. I want some." In that sense, it's a hard thing. But when you bring in the celebrities part of it, and this always bothers me in this whole thing, is the celebrities part of it is knowing the back behind the scenes thing, is that if a celebrity makes their guarantee, it costs the convention a plane
nothing,
basically. A plane ticket, basically. That's all it is, to get them physically there, and maybe a hotel room. But if a James Franco, that's a weird name to throw out there, but say James Franco's coming to he read the audiobook for Dead Zone that I hybrid read, and so that's why he's on my mind.
It's fresh.
But James Franco coming in is going to cost $10,000 and to bring him in, but he sells $11,000 worth of stuff at his table. The convention plays zero. And then all they have to do is pay for him to get there, which obviously that's all they have to do. Is a lot of times it's $1,500 or whatever. But $1,500 for someone that is hopefully bringing in a bunch of ticket sales and so on and so forth. Conventions think less of you guys, if that makes any sense. And this is not me shitting on one specific convention or anything like that, but it's always
it's kind of the way conventions have gone lately.
And they shouldn't be called comic book conventions, in my opinion. That's the thing, is it's a pop culture convention,
pop culture con or something,
something like that. But when you use the word Comic Con on things, it's a little hard to say that it's Kane Hodder and anime guests and all. Anime to me are kind of like borderline, because it does have something to do with manga in that sense. So like they are in the realm of it. But it's like, but it'd be like saying I don't know, Robert Downey Jr. is a comic book guest because he was in a comic book related movie. And that's not, to me, is not the same. Like, he's the one making a lot more money off of Iron Man than anybody's making off of Iron Man ever. Has made off of Iron Man. That wrote
his one appearance as Iron Man, like Iron Man 1, paid more than what the person that's been drawing Iron Man for 30 years ever made.
But that's my point, is that like those people are the ones getting all the attention, and they're technically, supposedly, according to behind the scenes, are what drawing the people to come to these conventions are happening. And the people that are physically currently drawing, someone who literally could be drawing Iron Man right now for Marvel, is going to get less attention at a comic book convention right
Yeah.
now than Robert Downey Jr. is.
Has
That's
spent
just a
more
weird.
time has spent more time in Iron Man
Yes.
than Downey Jr. ever was.
And
Yeah.
and let's get this clear. I'm not shitting on Robert Downey Jr. I think
No,
he was
no,
excellent
no,
as
for
Iron
anybody,
Man
really. No.
and all that stuff. It's just the way it happens right now. And I think that's one of the things we're trying to achieve with Galacticon is to bring it back to that. That's what old school Little Giants is
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
do, is to try to bring it back to the creators and the
No,
physical,
no
like searching through.
celebrities, no
The celebrities
celebrities, no
are the
Legos.
creators. Jim
Was it no
Starlin in
celebrities,
last
no Legos, no root beer?
yes,
Something like that.
last Little Giants that Paul and I went to down in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Jim Starlin was the celebrity guest to us, and that is to a lot of comic book fan.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Starlin being there was massive to a lot of people. And I mean, is Steranko going to be there this year?
Yes.
Steranko to a lot of people, that's massive to a lot, and that's the people that we want to see.
Yeah, yeah. I think
a lot of us.
They're bringing in Mark Bagley.
Mm-hmm.
That's one, like, I've never met Mark Bagley, so I don't know how it's going to work because my April has become very crazy.
Paul's going from Galactic. They're just gonna he put in for a table and never heard back. And so he's just gonna go as a fan.
Kind of kind of the thing that I've because I messaged them a while ago and it was like, yeah, you're on the list of like potential. It was funny, like I was at the first ever one, and then the second year I had already made a commitment to another friend's show that was like for charity, and I have never gotten back on the list.
It's a grudge thing that I feel like a lot of conventions, one of those things like that if you say no or you say yes and you back out because something happened.
Well,
a lot of these things that I'm like,
they gave me the date before you released your date.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it's the same day and it's for charity.
Yes.
And
even if it wasn't, here's the deal: you've already made a commitment to another person because they made
a commitment. Yeah,
it's one of those weird things. I don't know. I understand. Like there should be no grudge. Hell, okay, cool. We'll try to get you on for next year.
I mean, they did message. They messaged me last year, but it was like the day before the con, being like, "Hey, if you want a table, it's this amount of money." And I'm like,
which at that point is them trying to save their own asses, not.
Yeah, it's like it's
olive
the day
branch.
before. I don't have like. Maybe if you had messaged me a week before, but obviously what it was is someone dipped out last second and
they're an empty table.
You don't want an empty table.
No. But even at these conventions, and this is not anything to slight against you, Jesse, or any of your creators out there, even this convention, like Little Giants, Paul and I walked around and realized that people still like to look through long boxes. There was more people standing in line to be the next person to look through a long box at someone's comic book table than there was at the Jim Starlin line. Like that to me was a massive thing to me. People still want to search for comics. And when you go to a comic book convention nowadays,
and
it's like rock candy and a guy selling, we use the term Star Wars dildos. It's not what you're expecting to see. And people want to look through long boxes. They still want to do this stuff. They want to look for that
But
gem.
Looking for the long box, you can't feel the force.
Yes, exactly. Right. Feel the force. No, we make this joke in the comic book store all the time about the idea that it's turned into a yard sale or craft fair at a convention, and it's two different sides of this. And one of it is the person running the convention is scared to lose money, which is fine. I understand that. I am a person who lives well, but not still live paycheck to paycheck. Like it's still to the point where like I can pay my bills, but I understand if some sort of big expense comes, it's gonna rock my world a little bit. So I understand running a convention and knowing it'd be your
wall
money
behind you will become a lot less interesting.
Well, I always laugh about my wife being like, "It's okay, we'll just sell that stuff." I'm like, "Oh, what she doesn't realize is that a lot of that's not worth a lot." She thinks it's worth thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Like that one that says "To Justin" on it isn't gonna get you a lot of money. And I think
that's one reason why I just never liked personalization anyways, because as I tell the person, I'm like, it's nothing against you. It means something to me. It's not going to mean anything to my daughter, possibly.
Yes. Well, this whole wall back here is previous guests of the podcast. And so a lot of times they'll say, so like, Mike Henderson was on, so he wrote, "Don't bite your nails, Justin." And so some of those are personalized because they're specifically because they were a guest in the podcast. But yeah, so like people still want to do that. And it's paying your bills is important to the comic book the comic convention person. They're the ones putting their ass on
Mhm.
the line. So I do understand that.
Oh
So,
yeah,
but
I mean,
in the same
and
sense,
we've seen
don't
plenty.
just take the first 100 vendors to come in and apply for a
Yeah,
position. Maybe say, cool, you're on the list of the food people. You're on the list of
it's a
the
juried. So that's kind of like my buddy runs Monster Expo. It's
Mhm.
not a comic convention per se. It's a like a horror con type of thing.
Yeah.
And that's what he does is it's basically he tries to jury it. He's like, I'm gonna have 3 people that do jewelry. I'm gonna
Yeah.
have 4 people that do food based items. I'm gonna do, you know, the people that do specimens.
Mhm.
That way you're not having 10 specimen people right next to each other, and that helps them out because now they're not. Well, this person has a fetal pig over here for
Yeah.
$45 and you're charging 70. Could
Yeah.
you do like I don't know why I went with fetal pig, but you know what
It's
I'm
the same
saying.
reason I
Like,
went with James Franco. Maybe you have fetal pig on your mind. I
pickled pig sounds pretty yummy. Gross.
don't know.
I have never had pickle pig. I will never eat pickle pig feet or anything like that.
You're
So
gonna go your next convention you're gonna go to, they're gonna have like a pickled pig's foot or
just
something like
people
that
are
at a
gonna
table.
bring me it. Um,
Can you sign this?
but yeah, no, like it needs some type of jurying. I'm not gonna say the con, but like there was one last year that all of a sudden it was like 80% yard sale stuff, and then like Artist Alley was down to like one back and forth row. It's like you
Yep.
had 12 artists. You had like I think there was more celebrities there than there were artists, and the rest of it was stuff that you could have gone and got not Hot Topic that morning.
Or the one that I have, and I'm not saying conventions or vendors. I will never throw anybody under the bus
Yeah.
specifically. I mean, I could talk broadly. We can talk off the air if you wanted to. But the fact that I know of someone who is creating things by like basically printing pictures off the internet and creating something,
Oh
and
yes, those people.
they're geared towards whatever celebrity guests are there. Hey, come get this, get it signed, and so on and so forth. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, you're about, so say we'll use Terrifier as an example, because at a convention I went to recently,
Yeah.
both Damien and David Howard Thornton from Terrifier were there,
Yep.
and you're gonna
Who's
bring
a
this item.
sweetheart?
Both of them are freaking awesome people.
Yeah.
I absolutely love. Again, I would like conventions like Little Giants or hopefully Galacticon that are just comic book related people. But if I'm going to go to other ones and people, I can meet people from like great movies and things like that. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I don't want it to be the focus. I'd rather have it be the focus on the comic book people. But like meeting David Howard Thornton, who looks like he's the manager at Enterprise Rent a Car, and and Damien
Yeah.
Leone from Terrified was great. But like all I could picture was someone buying this at this table of this person who printed out the movie poster and put it on something and then brought it over to the guy who created the movie, the guy who put his career on the line to create a movie, and be like, can you sign this thing that person over there stole from you on the
Stole from me.
internet,
Yeah.
and have you sign it, and so on and so. I just felt like that was such a weird thing to do. And so those are the kind of things where I always
Yeah.
felt like taking someone else, it would be like me setting up a booth and just printing out people's artwork and put it up on my thing and just selling it as a, it doesn't have to sell it as my own thing, but
Yeah.
just
I
selling it
wish
as
those
like, it's just
people
a
would
weird
just
thing. So,
go
but
away.
if it's $100 for a table, that $100 is guaranteed $100. So I do see in the mind of some of the people who are creating these conventions that like I can pay for the venue now because I have sold my tables. Cool. But in the same sense, like it's gonna hurt you in the long run. And that's where I think that
Yeah.
it's short-sighted is the we need this now. But if you continuously put out your conventions, and this is all over the country, people. This is like in
Yeah.
Texas, this is in
It's not.
California. This is not
Yeah.
regional. This is not just to New England where we're from. Is that you're not going to get the residual people of the creators or the guests to come back in the future, and you're going to be hard time trying to find. You're going to be going for, we need to get this celebrity guest now because that's going to bring in a whole new group of people we haven't had yet, because of the fact that the people we had before aren't coming anymore because we don't
Mhm.
have quality potentially things or things like that. And up here in New England, there's a lot of craft fairs. So the person who went to
Yeah.
a convention and sold their craft fair items are likely going to be at the freaking mall the next weekend doing a craft fair, selling the exact same item that you can go into for free. And so like those are the kind of things that
Yeah.
also like just bother me about conventions, and having you creators be the people that are celebrities at these
That
things is
that's
way
that's
more
the other
encouraging.
thing, and it's nothing against the patrons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like you paid $30 to get into the door to buy
Yeah.
something that's marked up from Hot Topic. You could have
Or
just
you
gotten
could buy
Hot,
on their
or
Etsy shop or whatever. Because
yeah.
I
Well,
think that
I'm
there's
talking specifically for the people that are
oh yeah.
literally like,
Yeah.
I bought this Funko
Yeah. Yep.
yesterday, and I'm selling it for for ten
Because it
dollars, and I'm
has,
selling it for $20 today.
and then you go to that's the other part I love is, just to be this shitting session here for a second, is that you go to like an anime person, they charge
Mhm.
more to have you sign a pop vinyl than they do a picture.
Oh, a lot of people do that now. They
It's
have
just,
like their premium pricing,
I
because the thing is like people will pay
yes, premium for it. I understand.
$200 for a signed Funko,
Well, here's my question:
but
if I
they'll
walk up to
pay
a
thirty
place,
dollars for a signed photo.
you
Like,
did Charred Remains variant cover, right?
mhm.
So if I had, there was the Charred Remains, and now I'm trying to bring the flaming. I don't want to give too much away from the comic book, but I'm just gonna say a main character from the comic book is a Funko Pop. And I walked up to your table and said, "Can you sign it to Justin?" How can
Mhm.
you legitimately charge me more for that autograph, knowing that I'm gonna keep it because it says my name on it?
Yeah,
Like that's my other thing. I understand you come up with 6 pops and being like, "Oh, can you sign these 6 pops?" And then someone's obviously gonna go, "Okay, I know you're gonna turn around and try to sell this on eBay."
I mean,
Or coming up
and
with
then
1 pop and being like, "Can you send us 1 pop?" Like, so I can understand. Like, I would say
yeah,
it should be like for the first pop, it's the same as everything else, but any more pops after that, it's $20 or $30 or whatever.
yeah.
I just think that there's one of these weird things that just seems it's as a
Well,
person who helps with graphics, it's so hard to also put this graphic out there because it's like, what's it
yeah.
cost to get an autograph? I'm like, well, if you have this specific pop or this specific
Well, it's
magazine or
like
this specific
it's
cover,
like Clayton Crane with all of his
yeah,
signature variants. It's like, do you want just my C? Then it's
yeah.
$10. Do you want my full name? It's $20. Do you want it in 3 different colors? Well, that's
Do you,
70.
do you want
Like,
a
I was
mushroom
talking
stamp
with a
on
friend,
it?
and they're like, I can't imagine being his handler
No,
at a con, because you would have to be like, okay, well, he got it drippy on this one, but not on that one. He got 2 colors this one, 4 colors that one. Like,
and a lot of us collectors,
$300.
a lot of us collectors are people who are in this world, are not on a disposable income. Like that's the
No.
other part about it. Like going to these conventions and paying $30 to get in, and then having to pay $50 to get your autograph done, and only basically get a picture with an autograph on it or a photo with this person. It's just hard. It's just difficult things. But I can go to your table, Jesse, and buy a $20 variant from you that I get the actual comic. You sign it. You have a
Yeah.
conversation with me. You take time to actually talk to me. It's just so much more of a wholesome and wonderful experience, in my opinion, than I've ever met any celebrity ever in
Yeah.
my life. And that to me is partially biased to the fact that I really like comic books, and that's part of it. And there are people who go to these conventions that
Mhm.
only want to meet celebrities because they just like to meet celebrities,
Yeah.
which is cool. But in the same sense, I'm like, this person, most of these pop culture conventions nowadays have Joe Schmo who starred in one episode of a TV show in 1985 and are still riding the coattails of this one
Yeah.
thing.
You want a
And,
$30 photo? It's like,
yeah. Or I can go over to your table and get an actual real piece of artwork for $50 or $60 and have it be like something that you
yeah.
actually created with your own hands. And I just think that's more meaningful to me. And I think that's why I enjoy
Well, and
things like Little Giants or those old school comic shows.
and like, I don't want to get into it like with Prince, and
Yes.
I get it with the variant covers, like, they are limited per se, but then you get like the people are like, oh, this one's limited to 1,000. I'm like, in today's comic world, do you know how many 1,000 is?
Yes.
That's a lot of comic books. Like, that's a lot, especially like, so I did one for Vampirella Rage from Dynamite, and the minimum order was 500, I think, something like that. But I've still got like 120 of them. Like, and this was spread out between myself and the 2 vendors that were doing the exclusive. And I'm like, the minimum
Yeah.
order is 500, and I think maybe collectively we've sold 100 of them. Like,
Well, it doesn't also help that Dynamite has 20 covers per
that doesn't help
thing.
either. And it was
So
like
like,
So, and it was like the number 4 issue. I was like,
Yes.
why are we doing a number
Number
4?
4.
Like,
Yeah.
I would have waited and held off until we could have gotten like a number 1. At least that way people would be like, it wasn't my decision.
Yeah.
That
So,
was
so, so
pick and
speaking of
choose your
variant
battles here.
covers, variant covers
Yeah.
on this stuff. So like, so on that subject, we did a variant for 7 Years in Darkness #1 when Smallkey
Mhm.
self-published the first issue.
Right.
For Galactic Comics and the Capes and Tights podcast, we did one, and ours was 175 regulars and 25 metal covers.
Yeah.
That was it. And I was like, oh, we honestly, in this small shop in Maine, without a real big web presence, took us a long time, honestly, to sell the 100 copies, because
Mhm.
it's a finite number of customers who are going to buy these things and so on and so forth. But then we realized we actually might have the smallest variant
Print run.
number
Yeah.
out of all of the ones that he did for those things. And so that was kind of
Yeah.
cool in that sense. But you were probably on the lines of, you like variant covers, I'm guessing, but as an artist who does variant
I
covers, right? You're a fan
I
of it.
I enjoy it. Like, but when you're talking about like, would I rather spend $50 on a variant cover or get someone to draw something by hand? I would take the original artwork every day over that. That's what I was trying to
Yeah.
that's where my line of thought was going. It's like, you're sitting there and someone's spending like $30 on a print, and you're like, I would have done a sketch for $30, like, or something like that. Like, that's what's playing in my brain. I'm like,
Yeah.
so you're going, like, I get it. That is a much more finished, polished image, but it lacks any type of, in my mind, value,
Yeah.
because they can just go and hit print on it again, unless it's, a numbered thing. And then you got to worry about them being sleazy and
Yes.
printing more than what the number says.
Yeah. But see, like when I went to
but
that
they do that with
2015,
everything.
yes, I do, exactly. It was Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card. Do you ever, anybody sports collectible
Yeah,
people out there?
or I've seen with like because I collect sports memorabilia too.
Yeah.
Like, oh, here's a 1/1, and here's the same card as another 1/1. Like, they've
But
printed
this one has
more
black
than,
text on it.
yeah. It's like,
Uh, but
or not even.
in 2015, when I went to the local comic shows, when I was living in Massachusetts, it was like when I first started going to these things, and so I was trying to weigh out the idea of, I didn't display comic books. I didn't really know how to display comic books as much. And I'm like, well, if I'm gonna pay money, it's like when I got tattoos. The first time I got a tattoo, I got it on a place that I wear a t-shirt all the time. I'm like, I'm gonna have people see this, not because I'm showing it off, but I'm like, if I'm putting $500 into a thing on my arm, I want people to see it. So the
Right.
same
Yeah.
thing, if I'm buying a $50 comic book cover, I want to put it on the wall. But at that time, I didn't know what I was going to do, and I was also living with my ex-wife, and she wasn't really big into those things. So I'm like, what? So the only thing I could almost trade off was buying things. Like over here on my walls, that's a Steranko print, but it's signed in red marker by Steranko. And I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna get something signed, I'm gonna be able to put it on the wall, hang it up. People are gonna see it. This is great.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I'm more along the lines of getting a comic book done, and that's mainly because at that point too, I like the idea of, I'm a big person of like, I'd rather get this one comic book signed by the entire creative team. So your writer, your artist, your colorist, your letterer. I want the whole thing. So if I meet these people or see these people, I want this to have 6 signatures on it, and I want everybody who, give me the editor. Give me the publisher. I don't care. Just have them sign
and
this book.
I'm not like poo-pooing on getting variant covers and stuff like that. Obviously, I do it. I've got prints on my wall. I've got prints in a book. There's sometimes when it's just the more feasible route too. Like, there's some artists out here. It's like, oh, that's going to be $1,000 for a head sketch or $20 for a print, and I'm like, I will take that print, sir. Print. Like,
oh, $5 extra, I get a sign though.
Oh yeah, that's one thing. Like, it's so funny when people come up to my and they're like, "Oh, I want to buy this book." Okay, cool. And they're like, "Will you sign it?" Yeah. How much is that? I'm like, nothing. Like, I'm like, I don't know who you think I am, but thank you.
But like, it's the idea of knowing your customer too. Like I mentioned about the whole like having 5 pops versus 1 pop or whatever. But like if you did a comic book character, if you did a cover of, you're doing a variant cover of The Walking Dead #1 back in the day, and know this book is valuable, and someone walks up to you with 5 of them, in your mind, you're like, okay, why do you have 5? Unless you can explain to me that you have 5 kids and you're holding on these for your 5 kids and da da da. this is likely because you're going to keep one and you're going to sell four. And at that point, you're kind of like, well, I'm going to do it, but this is kind of annoying. Or you're going to say, I'll sign the first one for free and it's $5 extra for each one after that, or something.
Like I get that thing. Like, see, that's definitely one thing that I've talked with some friends about, and it's like, that's tough. Like I've had friends that are like, yeah, this person came up to me with a short box, wanting me to sign, and it's like, there's 10 number ones in there, and it's like, I normally don't charge, but I know what this person's doing.
Yes.
And I get that aspect of it. I mean, you could just hard cut off and say one of each title, or one of each run or something like that if you wanted the run, or I'll sign them for free, but I have to write your name on them. Like that would kibosh it pretty quickly. Unless you wanted to set up a private signing and I get charged. I charge $100 an hour or something like that.
But there's also the flip side of that people talk about is the idea that someone's buying the comic books. Like, in the other side of it is that that's the other thing. Someone physically bought your comic book and it's put in the more comics you sell from a certain publisher. Wow, we sold 7,000 of that variant by Jesse. We should probably get some more. We should hire him again. So like, it could turn into future business. And so there's so much to it.
Yeah, there's so many aspects of it. And I'm just like, I don't know.
I like variant covers. Two things. Variant covers to me are. I don't think I would have ever met someone like you for example, like you and Ben in the early days and Schmalky and all this. I don't know if I would have read your original stuff or any of the stuff that you did differently than that if it wasn't for variant covers. The Bob Tackics of the world, those people. I've learned about from conventions, but also because of the fact that they did a variant cover for something that I'm interested in. And so giving people who are lesser known artists or artists that are on the uptick of their careers, things like that, and giving them the ability to do a variant cover on a key book, your crossover, your Last Ronin #1s, those ones that had hundreds of variant covers, I was at least able to see some of these artworks from the people and be like, oh, that's pretty badass. I kind of want to follow this artist. And that's what's cool about them.
So it's like I told you, I collect hack slash. It's just something I've glommed onto over the years. And like, I try to collect all the variants. I think the only one I don't have all of them was a Dynamite one. And the reason for that, there's a million of them. And like, they try to charge ratio prices. And I'm like, nobody is ever going to pay $50 for this book ever.
Just wait. It will come down.
That's the way I feel about a lot of things. Like, anything with these con exclusives and stuff, like because I stream on Whatnot, I do live drawing on there, and I peruse other sites, and it's like, the people that go to MegaCon and I bought 30 of this book, they're super rare, and I'm like, yeah, but there's 10 other people streaming right now, each with 30 of that book. And then you get the people that they need to make the profit, and you understand that. Like, it was $20 at the thing, they're trying to charge you $25 for it, whereas someone else, it just doesn't matter. It's about the numbers. That they're like, oh, I bought it for $20, I'm running it for $15 here, and I'm like, so you're losing money, but you're gaining viewers, which would then something that you didn't charge, you actually are upcharging. And
the Amazon thing in the world.
Then you get the celebrity sellers, which I'm like, this seller is making more money off of selling this cover than the artist made drawing the cover. I can guarantee that.
And it's different. I feel like it's different. I have people who buy and sell older comics, your Silver Age comics, and it's like, okay, when the comic book was $1 something and now it's worth $50 or $60 or $100, and you found one at a long box in a shop that no one was, or a yard sale, whatever you're selling. But when a comic book comes out, like, and then that week, I mean, Ultimate Spider-Man #1 from Marvel came out recently, the new one, and immediately was on eBay for $15. My local comic book shop had them for sale, still on the shelf. And you can buy them on eBay for $15. And I just don't understand that market at all. But
it's FOMO.
It is. But that's the
It's
part.
fun.
Patience. I think it's one of the things I've learned the most in comic book collecting. This is like, if I could give any two pieces of information to people collecting comics, is somewhat of it's patience, because some of it's patience waiting for the market to drop again, because it inevitably will be for every single issue out there. There's some sort of market drop. And one of the things I
I
had was
Yeah.
House of Slaughter. I'm a big Michael Del Mundo fan. Michael Del Mundo is one of my favorite artists of all time. I think his ability to make artwork innovative, and just when you look at it, you're like, how the hell did he think about making it this way? Fascinates the hell out of me, and I love pretty much anything Michael Del Mundo does. And he had a cover for House of Slaughter, right?
Mhm.
House of Slaughter #1. It was a green cover with like blood and guts and like intestines and all that stuff all over the cover, and it spelled out House of Slaughter on it. It's an awesome cover. I
Family
loved it.
friendly.
Yes,
Yeah.
1 of 500 variant. Okay,
Mhm.
so no small shops in the entire country got this book. This book. You're talking your Midtown Comics, your those big stores,
Yeah.
got the 1 in 500, and or the comic book comp, or the ones that
They got
did
like three of them.
a variant that had 500. Yes. It was like selling for like 350 bucks on eBay when it first, like
Mhm.
when House of Slaughter #1 came out. I can go on eBay right now and buy one for $49. Okay, so like
Yep.
the price dropped so much because people were like, wait, no one really cares as much about this as we thought they would. And people made money on it, obviously. Comic book companies
Mhm.
made money of it. But to me, I was like, if I just patient, I'll be able to add it to my collection at some point. And I'm hoping at one point it drops down. I see it at a
That's the way I
$20 cover
that's
price
definitely the way
box.
I feel. Is like I'm like right now it's just everyone panic buying. It's the hot thing right now. It's like so like I said, I collect sports memorabilia. I'm a
Yeah.
Bills fan. Which the price has gone crazy on
Okay,
their stuff lately, which is annoying.
you're from Vermont. That makes sense, right?
Yeah,
Because
I
it's
well,
like the
well, I
closest
also
to
grew
you.
up in the '90s when the Bills went to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Super
okay,
Bowl four
okay.
years in a row. Um, but that also shows my dedication and loyalty that I went through the crap years for 17 years.
Hey, I'm still a
Um,
Patriots fan, so I mean, I'll get 17 more years of this too, probably, right?
uh, I can only hope for you. Um,
I mean, I'm a Red Sox fan. I dealt with that for a long time. Okay, come on.
okay,
See?
there you go. I don't football's really the only thing
Yeah.
I follow, but like I don't buy stuff during the season,
Yes.
like sports stuff. Don't buy it during the season. You buy it during the like as soon as the Super Bowl hits. Nobody gives a shit about
Nope.
football stuff. They're on to
The next sport or
they're
the next
finishing up
thing. Yep.
basketball. They're getting ready for spring training stuff. Like yeah, like if I want during the season, if I wanted a mini helmet signed by Stefan Diggs, it's like $150. There's one online that I've been following. It went 2 cycles through eBay at $70 and
Yeah.
nobody bid on it. The guy dropped it to $50. Like I'm like, a mini helmet alone costs you 30.
And sometimes it
So
does backfire in that sense because it can hurt you. So when I was in Massachusetts, before I got really into comics, I was a sports writer down there, and I
mhm,
covered the Bruins, but I also covered the Lowell Spinners in Lowell, Massachusetts, the minor league team for the Red Sox. And
mhm,
I was there at every game and so on and so forth. And I became slightly close to Mookie Betts, who played for the Red Sox and got traded to the Dodgers and so on and so forth, or signed with the Dodgers, whatever you want to call it. And at the end of the season, he gave me a game used Mookie Betts personalized bat. So it says bat made for Mookie Betts on it, and he signed
that's
it.
cool.
It was a black bat, silver
Mhm,
Sharpie, pine tar, everything on it. And this was back in 2000, whatever, 14,
yeah,
15, right around that. For 5 or 6 years, or for the first 2 or 3 years, I had it just in the closet. I was just like, put it away. This guy is a second baseman who got caught stealing more than he stole. He had a 200 batting average. He was not the player that he is now. And so
yeah,
my mind is, this is cool. When I have a place that like a man cave of sorts, I'll put it up, whatever. Finally, he started becoming good, right? So he started becoming this like player that we saw nowadays. And so I ended up buying brackets for the wall, put it on the wall, hung it up
yep.
there. Not because I'm a Red Sox fan and he no longer played for the Red Sox anymore, but then I thought to myself, what if this is his peak? And so in my mind, I was like, if I take this bat and put it on eBay and try to sell it, the second he signed with the Dodgers, like when he went to the Dodgers, there's like a high of people who are like, oh my God, we have Mookie Betts, and they just want to buy shit from Mookie Betts. And
Right.
so I was like, let me put this up there. Also, we live in a world that someone can get caught for using steroids tomorrow, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, they're not worth as much anymore. So I'm just like, let me just try to sell this to get something out of it. And I end up selling it for $500, okay, which is probably low for what it's probably going to be worth when he ends up becoming a Hall of Famer and all this other stuff. But at the time, I was like, I want to try to peak market price here and see what happens, capitalize on it. And to this day, I'm still kicking myself because I'm like, that $500 was nice. It was awesome. It wasn't life changing. It wasn't like I probably bought shit with it and like didn't actually invest it or do anything with it. And in my mind, I'm thinking like it would be cool.
I went and invested in Bill Cosby stuff.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly. But no, I thought to myself like, you know, I could have done that, and that's why some of these things, like, honestly, could I sell this Perez a sketch, you know, easily right now, instantly? You'd have to pry it from me. I think this is one of those things that something seriously would have to go wrong in my lifetime right now for me to need the money from that sketch.
I definitely
there's multiple things. I can't get it again. I could somehow meet Mookie Betts again and figure this out and get him at bat. I am never gonna get a sketch that he sketched for me in front of me. And that's
there's definitely that stuff. Like, and you know, you've got to put like sentimentality on things.
Yep. But I had that for that bat, but for some reason I was like, I don't want it anymore. Plus, a bat on the walls. I mean, my wife was always like, if someone breaks in the house, I'm like, yeah, sure. I guess you can use this $500 bat to hit someone with it, or you can just
hit them. I've got the perfect bat for that. I'll have to show you off camera.
But no, so
a guy made me a well, it's obviously a replica because it doesn't exist in real life, but made me a Cassie Hack bat with all the nails in it.
It's real.
It's real now.
It's based off a real story. Don't worry.
Excuse my language. It's real dangerous.
Tim Seeley's going to tell us later on that it's actually based off of a real person. Don't worry.
Yeah, my daughter, when I got it, she's like, "Ooh, can I put it in my room?" I'm like, "No." The thing's got like 10 pounds of nails in it. No.
Like getting a legit, legit. I guess it's more of a chance to have a legit Lucille from The Walking Dead than it is for Hack Slash because of the fact that you could get one from the TV show.
Unless they actually finally put out a movie that it was optioned for, because Cassie was optioned for a series or a movie. Yeah, it's something.
Well, everything is. So that's not news anymore, honestly. When you hear some
no, like, you know,
because my favorite Tim Seeley book is Revival. Yeah. And that's supposedly at some point going to be made into something. And I'm like, I don't know. Well, we'll see.
Well, just think, you know, the book that you haven't drawn yet is already optioned somehow. Like,
yeah.
It's like, so I'm friends with it's Jorge Santiago Jr., but he's like, just call me George. Like, I have original pages from Spencer and Locke that they did with Action Lab.
Yep.
And like, that was optioned. It had the director from Hitman attached, and nothing came of it. Like, or at least nothing has come of it, which is kind of interesting because David Pepos is like on everything now all of a sudden.
He's been on the podcast, so obviously he's made it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, obviously. No, he's doing Punisher right now.
He's doing Punisher right now, yeah.
And we just heard that he's doing Space Ghost for Dynamite. Like, it's like, I've got, like, I messaged him when Spencer and Locke came out because he had some of the variants that I wanted. Like, I have all the variants. I finally have all of the variants for #1 now.
There you go.
Oddly enough, the one that took the longest to get, I have the original cover for, and it took me longer to get a copy of the book than it did for me to get the original artwork, because George gifted me the artwork for his New York City Comic-Con exclusive. And then I reached out to David. He's like, I don't have any. George was like, they never gave me any copies of it. So he's like, I probably have a copy of that cover and he doesn't. Which is hilarious.
That's awesome. They can hold it hostage if you ever need to.
I mean, I've got a few things like that where like the artists, like, the Cherry Poppin' Daddies?
Yeah.
The band. So we went and saw them, and I brought them a copy of their first album on vinyl. And I brought it up to the bass player, and he's like, holy crap, I don't even have one of these. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, I think I gave it to my daughter's boyfriend one year. Like,
You can't
he's
have
like,
this one either. Sorry.
we only pressed like 500 copies of this thing.
Well,
Then I brought it up to the singer to sign, and he was like, yo, he sent one of the new guys in the band.
yeah.
He's like, go get this guy. He needs to come and see this. And he comes and he's like, I'm sorry, I had to call the what? Oh my god! Like, where did you find? Like, it was hilarious.
Well, I think it's funny. I
To
talk to people on the podcast about things they don't have. I mean, I have right here. You can't see it. David Peppo's Alex Cormack Devil Wears My Face poster that
Mhm.
comes from Mad Cave. They send out these tubes to
Yep,
people like
yep,
myself and stuff like that, and it's got postcard or bookmarks in it and stickers and sometimes the cool different random things. I recently got this like cool 10th anniversary thing they sent me from Mad Cave. But that's obviously not correct connected to a comic book. But I've gotten things where people were like, I don't even have one of those things. Like the
yeah,
creator of the book was like, they didn't send me one. So I'm like,
yeah,
you can't have mine. I'm sorry, this is mine. You cannot have it. Oh, I
yeah,
got these
yeah.
things.
No, I mean,
You see these? Charred Remains matchbook.
that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I was like, I'm never gonna. Some of these things. Well, who was it? Who was it?
That's smart
Not,
marketing right there.
it. There's so many
Back.
good things that's gotten like that before. I think for Dear Editor, they sent me a notepad for a news anchor, like a new old school news reporter
That's
notepad. That
cool.
just is. I've gotten candy cigarettes for whose book was
That
that?
was Mad Cave,
Yeah.
right?
So all those
Yeah,
things like
yeah.
a candy cigarettes, like a bunch of cool stuff that they've sent me that people are like, I've just never seen those and I'm never gonna get one. I'm like, well, I'm not gonna mail it to you, but you know.
Never say never, but yeah, not for me. You're not.
But and so you did Charred Remains. Thinking about that, as we've been talking for a while here, we should probably wrap it up a little bit. But you've done our cover for Charred Remains, right? You've
Yep.
done more recently. You did Devil Wears My Face,
Charred Remains was more recent.
but then sorry, right before that was the Devil
Yeah,
Wears My
yeah, yeah.
Face. You wore that. You did one
So,
for that, right?
so within the last year, I did for Scout. I did uh, Granite State Punk.
Yep.
I've done Charred Remains, The Devil That Wears My Face. I did a roundabout exclusive for Hack Slash Seance Room.
Okay.
That
Oh yeah,
was
yeah.
that was its own weird thing. Like, it's an official comic, but it's
Yeah.
like it's a weird guerrilla cover because I went through Ben Goldsmith, who is the creator of Seance Room, but it's like the publisher wouldn't get back to us about doing a cover, so he kind of like forced the issue so it doesn't have like their logo on the. It's weird.
Yeah.
But it's also probably one of the most rare, and it's also probably the one that I've sold the most of, oddly enough.
Yeah.
I did the Cult of That Wilkin Boy for
Yep.
Archie. Um, that's the one I always forget, and it's the one that gives me the most trouble when trying to remark. Um, I don't know what they printed that thing on, but like it
Really?
rejects ink like nobody's business. So if you find one that's remarked, grab it because I'm not remarking those if
In
I
the
can help
menu,
it.
yeah.
Um, the Vampirella Dracula
Yep.
Rage number
That
4.
one. Yep.
Um, uh, and I've got one coming out at C2E2 for Dick Tracy.
Okay.
Me and
Yeah, we talked
about
about it.
9 million other variant cover
The book's
artists.
fun, guys. I mean, I read it
Yeah,
recently, and I
I'm
do think
excited
that it's
for it.
cool. It's a classic Dick Tracy, but it's also modernized and brought
Mm-hmm.
into a little bit more current. So if you're not, you don't have to be like a huge Dick Tracy fan from back in the day. Obviously, not from 1930, but like if you like saw the movie and all
I
that
mean,
stuff,
I guess you could
you could be.
be like
But the
keep
idea,
pushing,
if you're
but
pushing it, yeah. Steranko, there you go. Jim Steranko at 85 was a big, Dick Tracy fan, back in
I
the
remember when this
1940s,
came out.
1950s. But
And he
no,
would have like a 30-minute conversation about the first time he read the comic strip.
and you're like,
Nothing against
cool.
the guy. He's a very nice
No,
guy, very personable.
I want to
If
open the email. I want to open the
was
email. No, I'm not going to say anything about the financial part of it because I don't want to put that out
yeah,
there for him. But I want to read the section where he said, where is it booking? Where's Stranko? It says that he needs a handler or someone to take the money, which obviously I understand that.
he needs someone to rein him in on his conversations.
No, the word was I devote all of my time, energy to fans and friends in line, but never handle any sales or money. Like, yeah, I know. I've been to one of your conventions that you've been at. I understand why you could, because if you took the money and did all that stuff, we would never get anywhere with you.
Because and to be honest, like he's one of those people that if you are very shy, I guess would be the thing, like, and you just want a signature and to move on or something like that, like you're
Yeah,
just like one of those guys that's like, I don't really want to talk, like I'm a fan, but
yeah, yeah,
like good luck, because
yeah.
he will wrangle you in for a half-hour conversation that you were not expecting, um which is cool, like you get to talk to a legend.
Yes.
But like if you're one of those people that are made uneasy by just someone talking at you for like a half hour,
Yep.
um
It's not Jim's not the
maybe
one you
send a
want to
friend.
get. Yes.
It's just
But
like
no.
when I say like, going on to the celebrity thing, like meeting Doug Jones. I don't know if you've ever met Doug Jones. Lovely
Nope.
human being. If you have a personal bubble,
Yeah.
don't
Don't.
meet
Yeah.
Doug Jones, because
Yeah.
it does not exist. And I don't want that to sound creepy. Like he makes it very like
Yes.
he acts as if you're a long lost friend that you've just met.
You're leaving the table. You're like, wait, do I know him from somewhere else? Like, oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
but like he'll come up, he'll give you a hug, he'll he's very he
Yes.
he's very personable, and he very much wants you to know that he is very happy to meet you
Hmm.
and is ecstatic that you're a fan. But if you're one of those people that are like, do not touch me, he's very hands on. I love you as
Yes.
a fan. It's the best way to put it. I'm like, there's just some people that like I said, never creepy, never anything like that. But it's just like,
Yes.
if you have a personal bubble, or if you're one of you don't like the attention of being talked to, there's some people that you just shouldn't meet.
Well, I wonder if you should just lie. Go to
Send a
Steranko, be
friend.
like, yeah, lie that you are the friend. So just walk up to Steranko and be like, "Can you sign this for a friend? I gotta get going and see what happens and see if they'll just sign it and let you go." Because you're like, I have no idea who you are. I don't want to know who you are. I just need to go because my friend. Oh, you waiting for me? Okay, yeah, I'll be right there.
Then it
But yeah,
no, because then it'd be a 40-minute conversation explaining who he was too.
yes. And then to call your friend over and have him come over here and talk to you. Then you're like, oh shit, there is no friend. Because we're comic book nerds. We
now
don't
we're
have
now we're
friends.
into an hour-long conversation. Son of a
Exactly.
bitch.
Dick Tracy,
And,
though, great book.
yes, cool.
It's a great book, and I will recommend it anyway. I'm so pumped that someone like Mad Cave, I've been a supporter of Mad Caves for a couple of years now, and they're on their 10th anniversary. I didn't even like it baffled me that it's
Yeah.
been 10 years since they first started. But to get someone like Dick Tracy under their umbrella is pretty badass. And to see
And
that new stuff
originally, when
coming.
they announced the title, I wasn't sure, because they've also done reprints of
Yeah.
older things. I wasn't sure if it was going to be a reprint of the dailies, or if it was going
New
to be
stuff.
its own thing, which
It's its own thing.
its
That's
own
cool.
thing.
I talked to Mark London. It's gotta be over a year now ago about that. This is also like he didn't mention Dick Tracy, but he said there's licensed properties coming to Mad Cave.
Yes.
It's when he talked to me. He kind of like off air. He was like, "Yeah, there's some cool new stuff coming," and he's like, "I can't talk to you about it yet," so on and so forth. But Mad Cave, and that this is not it, is what I'm understanding. Like Dick Tracy
Mm-hmm.
and a couple of the other things they've already announced and dealt with is not the end of it either. That Mad Cave is going to become a powerhouse in the sense of having some licensed properties, kind of in the sense that like mixing the two, which is pretty cool. What they've been able to do with Mad Cave, with having some creator-owned stuff and then having licensed
Right.
properties, like kind of like what Skybound's kind of doing over at Image nowadays too, which is like they're going to continue busting out the
Or
creator-owned
IDW is
stuff.
done.
Yeah, but I mean, like the things they hadn't done in the past, they've been
Mm-hmm.
all creator owned. Now they're getting into the point where like, okay, creator owned. Now we're gonna do some licensed properties too, because it kind of balances the two out. The problem with someone like IDW for one, they went so heavy into licensing
I think
that
that's yeah.
that's
You
the problem. So I think if you balance out, and I think the IDW has got some great and fantastic creator-owned stuff that's come out over the past year or so, 2 years or so, and have stuff coming out in the future that I'm super pumped to see where they're going. But it's one of those things that like Dark Horse has been able to balance pretty well.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so like I think balancing a little bit of both out. So if someone pulls their license, you're not like caught with a tail between your legs, like trying to figure out what to do. But
Yeah.
also having both in there to bring in the readers is really cool. It's really, really cool.
Yeah. No,
I'm excited to see where that goes in Mad Cave, because you've done a number of comic covers for Mad Cave and stuff like that. To see that stuff happening is pretty cool. Dynamite getting a lot of that license. Dynamite is basically a licensed property place, right? I mean, they don't really do much. I'm trying to think of. I don't think they do, because they even license stuff from Marvel and Disney. So like, or not, or I should say Disney, not Marvel, but they do. With Darkwing Duck, they just did Darkwing Duck. They just did Gargoyles. Those are all Disney properties that you could see easily coming from Marvel. Do you know what's coming from Marvel that they didn't do at Dynamite? Is they're doing Scrooge McDuck. Marvel's doing that though. It's a Marvel Scrooge comic book. I was like, you licensed Gargoyles and you licensed Darkwing Duck to Dynamite, but you're gonna do Scrooge.
And I think they've got a bunch of other like Cartoon Network stuff coming too.
Oh yeah.
Maybe that was part of the thing. Is
I don't know.
They were getting like they got Space Ghost.
Yeah.
There's some other titles that I don't know if they've made public. But yeah, there's some other ones that are coming that we're trying to get one. Because it'd be nice to do a comic cover that my daughter can read.
Yes, I think I think that's cool about some of these books. I mean, like the idea that it's also paying homage or giving us a little like nostalgic feel. Seeing Gargoyles in comics to me was really cool to see. Darkwing Duck, being someone of our age that watched it as a kid.
I would have loved to have done a Darkwing Duck cover. I'm not gonna lie.
I
would have paid to have done a Darkwing Duck cover.
It's
because that was my
fun
thing.
book. Yeah, Darkwing Duck back in the day.
Yeah,
and seeing that is cool, and seeing like X-Men '97 coming back out on Disney Plus, like all that stuff. It's nostalgic feel. It's pretty cool, but it's also one of those things that I kind of cool to be able to give to my kid, because like when he's old enough to read things like Darkwing Duck and so on and so forth, I have those comics that are new, that are not gonna be hard to find or things like that, which is pretty cool to see that coming.
One of my the things that I regret the most is I was in upstate New York at a comic shop, and they had the omnibus of Darkwing Duck, and I think it was like $30 or something like that. I didn't pick it up for some reason, and then I found out it was out of print. And I called them up and I'm like, do you still have that? They're like we just sold it like last week. I'm like,
yep.
And
we had that scene. Go ahead.
You look it up on eBay and stuff, and they're trying to get like $200-$300 for this omnibus, and I'm like, I could have had it for 30 or 35 or whatever it was.
On the way back from the convention, the Little Giants one last April, Paul from Galactic Comics and I were driving back, and we stopped by Stairway to Heaven Comics. In New Hampshire, and they had a book that his customer was looking for. It was a 1 in 10 variant for Dungeons and Dragons that came out recently. That the guy in his shop was like, he's like, I only ordered 5 copies because I'm a small independent shop in Maine that doesn't have a big following for Dungeons and Dragons for comics. And so he ordered 5 copies. So he didn't get the 1 in 10 variant. And the guy's sitting there like, oh, that's okay, whatever. So he's looking on eBay, and finally he ended up buying one on like eBay from like the United Kingdom for like $25. He's like, I really want it, so on and so forth. And he's like, cool, whatever. We were down driving back, and the Stairway to Heaven had it there for like $9.99 or something like that on the shelf. And he's like, oh, that sucks that he already bought it. We got back, and he's like, I'm a comic book shop. Why didn't I buy that? And then try to get $25 for it. He goes, what was I thinking? I could have sold to that guy it. He probably could have canceled the eBay order and made some money on it and bought it. And every once in a while,
because who knows how it's going to ship from UK.
I've sent my Paul from Galactic a link when Midtown has like extreme deals on like trades and things like that. Like I bought a trade recently. I think I bought a bunch of trades from them for like $5 a trade. like $20 trades for $5 each. And I was like, I sent him the link. I'm like, dude, you should just order them from them because it's less than you pay.
It's cheaper than what you're paying from your distributor.
And if as long as you pay over $85, they'll ship it to you for free. And so just buy $85 of the trades at $5 a trade and then sell them all for face value. And you would have made
or if you sold them for $10.
sale. Yeah. You still make more money on it. I was just
These are on
laughing.
sale, $10.
Yeah. I was like, I'm gonna start sending these links that you could just buy into, or maybe I should just buy them and then sell it to him for $7, make $2 a piece. And that's it. That seems like way more. It seems like way more work than I need in my life right now, especially with a second child coming. But
woo! I made $2 a book. I really fleeced him.
We just shot the shit for like an hour and a half ish on random shit in the comic book industry, and didn't really dive too much into what Jesse does. But I really don't. I mean, Jesse, you're a variant cover, or sorry, that puts you in a box. You're an artist that has a number of variant covers out there as well that you could pick up, and you're selling most of them most of them at shows, right? Most of them are at comic shows, pop shows.
You can get them like I go on Whatnot. My name is Lundberg Graphics on there. So, and you can get commissions through that as well. I do sketch cards. I've done sketch cards for Dynamite Entertainment, Upper Deck. The Upper Deck ones, I don't know if I can release what titles they are, but they're cool. I just signed, I'm currently working on another one from Dynamite, which I think I can say. I'm doing Puppet Master, 35th anniversary. The other one, I don't know if I can. I saw another artist announce that they were doing that one. So if I get in trouble, I'll be like, they did it first. The other one is for I'll tell you off air, but it's for an 80s, 90s brand through Dynamite. It's going to be more than meets the eye. But I'm doing those. I just signed on for those.
Nice.
I'm under contract for Upper Deck for another set this coming year. I was surprised I got that one so quickly.
That's awesome.
And I'm doing an all ages book right now. I'm drawing interiors for. It's going to be Gravity Falls Scooby-Doo meets Back to the Future Quantum Leap type of stuff.
You just did like a bunch of stuff that like makes me really want like all of those things. Like even if you just use like most of the time I read that being like, well, I can understand where they're coming from with this. Like I'm not a huge fan of this, that, the other, but like, okay, it makes sense. Like all of those things I'm willing to watch or read and put them all together.
It's a mystery time traveling group of kids.
I just want to watch Quantum Leap now that you said that, though. Like that's all I want to do now. I don't even care about the book anymore.
So the gist of it is a group of kids are sent back in time, and the only way they can get back to modern day is by solving a problem that happened way back in the year 1996.
Oh, so far long ago, man. Long ago. I was 10.
Yeah. So yeah.
No, that's awesome. I'm excited for that.
I was 11, so
and so it was a lot of focus on covers for people. We actually had this quick conversation. I don't want to go too far into it, but the idea that a lot of people treat your covers like trading cards, so they don't actually look at the interiors of it. So to be able to see something come out in the near future, that I can actually see your wonderful artwork on the interiors is going to be pretty cool too.
Yeah, and it kind of also shows like because the interiors are being drawn in a cartoon way.
Yeah,
like it's very much in the style of Gravity Falls or was it Nick Park with Wallace and Gromit, like the big eyes, expressive mouth type of thing.
That's cool.
That's one thing that was like I do cartoony. I tend to draw more in the style of like old Warner Brothers or Hanna-Barbera. Like that's my favorite era of cartoon. Like that's what I watch is Hanna-Barbera and Warner Brothers. I was never a big Disney kid, other than Darkwing. I like it all. Don't get me wrong. But I definitely gravitated more towards the Looney Tunes slapstick type of thing. Yes. And but then I do more. I can do more realistic portraiture stuff. So it's kind of runs the gambit, and one day I'm drawing Looney Tunes esque characters, and
Yeah.
the next it's like, could you draw grandma? I'm like, sure. you know, I've done memorial pieces recently. I've done pet portraits. If people want pet portraits, please get them done while the animal's alive. Like, it's depressing when almost every single pet portrait I've done, it's like, he passed away last year, and I'm like, I'm glad that I'm helping you cope with this.
Yeah.
But it's so sad because I'm looking at this like youthful looking dog sometimes, and I'm like, oh, it's no longer here. I can't go play with the dog. That's always what it is. It's like, oh man, I could be playing with this dog.
Yep.
Yep. But yeah, like most of my covers have like metal versions. Do I have one right here? Let me see if I can reach. This one's super rare because it's neon. I don't know if you can see that. It's neon orange glow in the dark.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, but they kept the printer kept having errors, so we have them, but like most of them were damaged. Something with the way it's a newer product, so I think they just got to work out a couple things.
Yeah.
But we had for that one, we had paper copies, we had metals, we now have virgin metals, virgin neon, glow in the dark ones, and UV black light ones.
It's the options you have nowadays. It's crazy. I love
it. Yeah. And what we were doing when they first came out is we were donating a portion of the proceeds. I think we still are. I just haven't sold one in a minute or two. I haven't been pushing them as much because I'm not at a convention either. But it was going to the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation. Mm-hmm. And so we were happy to team up with that and raise some money for them. Because I do have a background in firefighting. So yeah, that was
pretty badass.
Volunteer firefighter.
Firefighter to do that. Oh, sorry about that. It's a fun thing to see people draw and have new covers come out. So I'm always excited to see what's coming out for you, especially when you draw. You tend to do covers for comic books that are also pretty freaking stellar. The Devil Wears My Face is amazing. I love Charred Remains. Like, that was one of my favorite books recently. Your interior artist on that is also one of my favorite artists as well.
Nice.
But yeah, so obviously Alex killed it on the interiors of.
It was so funny when we got the Devil That Wears My Face, because at first I was just told the title and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then like he sent me the guts of the book.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, Alex, I know Alex. And it was like David Pepos, and I'm like, oh, I don't know him personally, but I've talked with him. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like, it was just kind of funny. Like, we got it, and then I'm like, I know the people, like one of them I know personally. Mm-hmm. We've been friends for I don't know, quite a while. And then the other one, I've talked to through instant messenger or whatever, like a messenger or something like that.
Instant messenger, you're showing your age there, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
Can you IM me, please?
I meant to say Facebook Messenger. That's actually how I contacted him.
I'm gonna have a away message on my instant messenger here. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, I went and got onto my MySpace. Check that out.
And
I put him in my top 8.
My dial-up.
God,
we're aging ourselves here now.
Yeah,
it's a great book. I mean, my buddy Paul, who owns the comic shop, he put it in his top comics of the year last year. When we did our top 10 comics of the year, he put the Devil That Wears My Face on there. It's an excellent book from Mad Cave, and so get to be able to do a cover for that's pretty badass. Extremely loved. I love Charred Remains. We talked about the fact that I got a little matchbook here to go with it. It's just pretty awesome. It's
pretty sweet.
Beautiful book there. And then yeah, so like those are two books just off the top. The more recent books are to have you have a cover for it. It's pretty badass. And people can, if you're in the area, Paul does have some of those at Galactic Comics and Collectibles in Bangor, Maine. So if anybody is
Yes.
in the area, Cult of the Wiccan, I believe he also has there. Some of those books that he has of yours there. So if you want to
Yeah.
grab them.
Yeah, he's got some of that. I think I tossed him some of the my older stuff.
Yes.
There's a cover from, I think there might be Mighty Mascots there
Yeah.
that I did for my buddy Keith. And it came out on the Wednesday,
Yeah.
I think. I don't know, it was a while ago when
Yeah.
I hooked him up. Um yeah.
He
So
has a
yeah,
couple of those
he's
left, so it's pretty cool to have those there if you are in the area and want to buy it and you want to support a local comic book shop, but also get some artwork from Jesse without having to see him at a show or something. And you have some stuff on your website, right? There's not a ton, but there's some
there's
stuff
some stuff. Yeah, there's
up on
some
there.
stuff
So
on my website. I need to be better about that.
we all do.
Again, I sell on Whatnot. All of them
Oh yeah,
should
whatnot.
be
Yeah.
available there. And then I've done like I am in like an anthology called Fairy Tales from Mars. I did some interior stuff
Okay.
that was done very quickly because we were like a stretch goal. And then it was like, okay, well, we need this done. Okay, cool. And I was actually teamed up with a guy in Ukraine for that.
Oh,
The writer was from Ukraine, and I'm like, how many hours difference is that? And like we spoke like twice via Zoom, and I'm like, what time is it there?
well,
And
yeah.
when I first found out he was in Ukraine, it was just as the war had broken out there. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I'm like,
yeah.
oh no, are you safe?
Yeah.
Like,
Is everything okay? I talked to Vladimir Popov last week when we recorded this last week. Was and he's from Serbia.
mm,
And I was like, wait, what time is it there? He's like, oh, it's only 9 o'clock because we ended up doing it like, I don't know, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that. And I was like, oh, okay, good. But I have done an episode with me and three other people, and we were all in different time or on different countries. In different countries. It was when we did it with Antarctica from Image Comics and Top Cow. It was Willie Roberts and Lyndon White and Simon Burks, and everybody was like, Simon was like in England, and one for someone was in South America, and someone was in like somewhere in
it's just
Japan.
like it's so crazy that now, like, because of technology, like, there's days where I'm just like, I hate technology, but then there's days when you're like, look at all these creative teams that would have never worked
No.
together ever.
And that's one of
Had
the
it not
downfalls to
been.
Twitter. The fact that Twitter's like imploding on itself is that the number of people that I've talked to with the artist and creator or artist and writer came on the podcast together. And I was like, how did you two meet? They're like, well, I just sent them a DM on Twitter. And it's something like Twitter collapses in on itself completely. It's like, what future collaborations of comics where we have not gotten? Like, that's the kind of like space time travel movie we need right
Yeah.
now. We need to figure out like what would the world have been like if we didn't have Twitter, which comics, and that would a finite number of people like myself would watch that movie or TV show. But I'm
Yeah.
saying like we need that what would have happened if Twitter didn't
In a
exist,
world.
because yes, where no Twitter is around. But no, there'll be less shitty people out there, I'll tell you that much. Or less
Yeah. All of a
less
sudden,
people
everyone's
telling
like,
you how shitty you are. How about that?
everyone's happier.
Yes.
Like,
Everyone's like, wow, it's like gold, there's no wars, there's like
woo,
gold roses
it's
everywhere
awesome.
and rainbows. And yeah, I know it'd be actually pretty funny. But you're
We're
hopefully
a utopian society now.
exactly. Jesse is we're gonna announce you're coming to Galacticon this summer. It'll be fun to do that. So we'll see you there. But you're also
Yep.
going to other conventions this summer, I'm guessing too. You already have a lineup of conventions to go to.
So I've got Maine comic. So
Yeah, Maine is in
when I was
April.
saying like my
Yeah.
my April is becoming crazy, like, so I don't know. I think I'll probably just go as a fan to Little Giant. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll
We'll
see if
see.
all of a sudden the last minute he's like, hey, here's a table. We'll see about that. But yeah, I've got Maine, and then, which is a 3-day con, right? Yeah, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then literally the next week I fly out to Chicago
For C2E2.
for a 3-day for C2E2, which is like the biggest con I've ever done. And it's one I've been wanting to do for a while, because I always see, like, honestly, of the big cons that are going on right now, I've wanted to do C2E2 and Heroes Con
Mm-hmm.
because it seems like they are the most comic driven
Yes.
cons of the big cons. Like obviously you're going to have your celebrities there and stuff, but
Yeah.
it seems like they are more, well, Heroes Con not so much, but because I don't think they bring any
No,
celebrities in.
I don't think so either.
No, I don't want to misspeak. Um, but yeah, no, those are the two big ones that I would love to do. And I get to do C2E2 for the first time. And then the next weekend I'll be at Merrimack Comics for Free Comic Book Day.
Yep. That's coming right up.
And then my schedule, I don't know very well yet, and I don't know when they fall in line. That's something my wife helps me out with. I am not a calendar person.
Yeah.
We're gonna be doing Haverhill Library Convention. It's a little fundraiser for the Haverhill Public Library.
Yep.
Which is fun. And I'll be doing Wicked Con in the fall down in Boston,
which is also a great not newer show because it's a convoluted history.
It's newer. It's
like comic book centric, and that's what's cool about it.
Yeah. There's no celebrity. Like there's celebrity artists, but
but not celebrity. Yeah,
it's all comic.
And we've always said that. I say no celebrities are going to come to Galacticon, but Paul and I have made a caveat to that whole thing. It's like as long as they've participated in creating a comic book. So like on our short list are like Patton Oswalt can definitely come if he wants to come, and David Dastmalchian can come. Actually, you know who just came up? I was writing. They just announced that Dark Horse is Josh Gad, who played Olaf on Frozen.
Yeah,
he's writing a comic book right now. So like all of those people are welcome to come.
Mazzano.
Yes. All those people are more than welcome to come because they created a comic book. That's the only caveat that we have. You cannot have someone who Robert Downey Jr. The second Robert Downey Jr. writes a comic book or draws one, he can come to the convention too. But that's our only thing. You have to be
you're not
a celebrity
until then.
that writes a comic book or draws a comic book.
You're not invited till then until you're willing to come for something that has less than one comma in the price tag.
I was just laughing about that. I was like, yeah, well, technically those people are allowed to come. We don't have the budget to bring any of those people I just mentioned in. But I'm just saying they're allowed to come if they wanted to come. If they were like, yeah,
they're like, hey, I'm
going to happen to be on vacation. Funny. I'm going to be there already.
Exactly.
Why don't I just come by?
I bet you if you reached out to some of them and just be like, hey, we'll put you up, we'll fly you out.
Yeah.
We can't afford an appearance fee. How many people would do it just because it's
one of our guests that's coming up that we're going to announce here? One of our guests who's a writer/artist from Joplin, Missouri. I don't know if you'll be able to guess who this person is, but I just know where they're from. Is coming because they're bringing their kid and wife along with them, and they're going on vacation the week prior to Galacticon. And so they're like, "Hey, come on out!" And we're gonna. So normally we would book the flight and pay for the flight and do all that stuff. But instead, we're just going to send them a quote unquote appearance fee, instead of trying to do all that stuff so that they can book a flights and hotels and all that stuff together with their family.
Right.
Yeah, so in exchange, we'll just do the value of what normally we would pay and just send that over to them, and they're going to do their whole thing themselves. But they're coming because of the fact that Maine is a place that people want to come vacation at. So it's like, they don't go.
That's helpful because there's some people like, you watch a movie and you're like, why would they lower themselves to do this movie? And it's like, oh, because it filmed in Hawaii. So they're like, I'll do it for $8,000 and a sandwich, but I get to go to Hawaii for a month,
Yeah, exactly. So that's what happens. It does happen. So don't saying it won't happen. But
so I was friends with
is that how I'm going to sell tickets? Jesse, I'll be like, hey, by the way, it's possible, guys, that we might have Patton Oswalt, David Dastmalchian, Josh Gad. There might all be there at this convention. Maybe.
Possible, not probable.
No refunds if you buy tickets.
Yeah. No, I love the shows that are like 30 people on the list, and then the week before the show, all of them drop off, and it's like, well, something they had to film, and it's like, did they or did they never know about that they were showing up to this? And you use their name to benefit.
To help promote. Yeah, exactly. But hey, we're not here to solve conventions problems, okay?
No.
We'll be here for a lot longer than we have already been here to solve the problems from conventions.
It would be a nightmare.
And someone would be like, it's a waste of time. Can you solve like world hunger or like war or peace?
Way above my pay grade.
But
to be able to figure these things out.
we should probably wrap this up though, because people have already signed off. Anybody who's going to listen to this is already gone.
Oh yeah,
and they don't care, but which is okay. Whatever. The 5 people we have are now down to 3 or 2 people probably listening. By the time this
hi
airs.
mom.
Yeah, exactly. No, my mom would be like, I'm out of here already. She listens on a regular basis too. She'd also already signed off. But so yeah, so you have a website. What's your website?
Lundberggraphics.com.
That's what it is. And you're on social media, so check that out as well.
Yeah.
And
it's the same name over everything to try to make life as easy as possible. Except for Twitter, it's Lundberg Graphic because the S wouldn't fit.
Yes, it's very
but and to be honest, I don't really post on there, so
no, not very often.
If you're going there for news, there's so many more options that you have available that I actually update.
Yes. And then you're on Whatnot, like you mentioned, so check out Whatnot as well.
Yes.
And then if you get a chance to see Jesse at the places like Maine Comic and Toy Con, which is the 19th of April, 19th, I don't know, mainecomicandtoycon.com, I believe is the name of the website. You should go to that.
Yes.
Check that out.
Then all I remember is it's the weekend before C2E.
So I think it is. It's the 19th to the 21st, I believe, and then C2E2 is like the 25th or 26th. It's the next weekend.
Yeah.
So if you're in that area, check those out. And then we have
being self-employed, like I work in vague numbers. It's like, yeah, it's that month.
It's in April.
Here and there.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Well, you work in the comic book industry. It's vague numbers anyway. Like, yeah, it will come out at some point. FOC is 3 weeks, maybe it's 4 weeks, maybe it's 6 weeks.
That's how the Dick Tracy became a C2E2 we're doing as a C2E2 exclusive, was because it was supposed to come out like a week or 2 prior.
Yeah.
And then
now
something happened to where they pushed it back to like the Wednesday before C2E2.
I think it's April 24th,
and we're like,
yeah.
And we're like, cool.
Works for me. Well, that's also good. It sucks when you have it come out the week after too. If they ended up coming out like May 1st, and you're like, we could have had it at this convention, and it always sucks. I've had that
comic book day, but nobody goes to free comic book day looking to spend money.
Correct. So that's always nice to have that for that. I mean, it's gonna suck for the people who are going to Maine Comic and Toy Con and can't get your Dick Tracy cover yet because it's not coming out to the following weekend. But
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be like, oh, you could pre-order it, I guess. I know that we're doing a limited amount of them. I don't know how limited.
Limited
and I know
he's an arbitrary number nowadays. Could be 100, could be 5,000.
I mean, but no, like he actually, the guy that I have that does them. Actually, these are some that I need to send to him. But like he hard numbers them.
Yep.
So
there's 17 numbered 10s.
That one was numbered to 10, yeah.
And I'm just saying, like, someone's like, well, I have number 9 of 10. How does that work?
Yeah. Well, what
they all just say 9 of 10 on it. They don't actually.
Yeah. No. These are actual.
I know.
I can guarantee this much that those are actually the number that it says is the number that there are.
Yeah. That's pretty funny though. But yeah.
Yeah. No.
Cool.
I can guarantee that.
That much. Yeah. That one's legit. It's Satanic Collectibles. They're cool people. I like those guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we'll catch up again soon. We'll just shoot the shit again and maybe have a little bit more. We'll talk a subject of some sort.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, it's like this was just friends hanging out and like having.
That's what we want.
I
want people to learn about you. I want people to learn about people who don't know about Jesse Lundberg. I think you need to know about Jesse Lundberg because it's got some great artwork. I think it's great. I'm excited.
You bring
to
me
see
coffee, I'll give you a sketch card.
See, well, I'll just come visit you in New Hampshire. We're not that far away. You know,
we're not. No,
we'll do that.
We're in the
bring Paul
region.
with me. We'll bring Paul with me, and we'll go do something.
Yeah, do that.
Well, maybe next time we'll have Paul on with us, and we'll just do a whole comic book creator and a comic book retailer and myself just sitting here, and we'll do a whole discussion that way. That's cool with me. But
yeah, that'd be fun. And then you get it from like, I like to think that I'm up and coming. It's one of those like I'm a creator, but I definitely know my place in the world. Like, I'm not one of these. I'm not a household name, but I have people that honestly think that I am, which is hilarious to me. Well, like I have friends that I have people that like. They're like, oh no, you're big to us, and I'm like, Thanks.
Well, I have.
I
I'll
don't know.
close
I
it out
don't
with
know exactly how to feel about it still.
a story
So,
that's only going to make sense to people who, and they can figure it out. I'm not going to say any names, but you can figure out who this person is by listening to the 140 episodes prior to this. Is there was one creator on here who, again, I won't name by name. It was kind of funny because they're like, the only reason people like working with me is because my comics sell so well, and kept on going on and on and on about how great of a writer they are or creator they are, and so on and so forth. And I was just laughing because I'm like, wow, you do not think a lot of yourself at all, do you?
yeah, very humble.
But I was like, okay, cool. Again, if you're a very long time listener of this podcast, I will guarantee you right now that creator doesn't listen to the podcast, so I'm not worried about. But no, it was an episode. I said it could be an episode 1, it could be episode 139.
Well, there's a guy that I can almost guarantee that you probably haven't had on your show. He has a problem with drawing feet.
Yes. I have not had that person on my show, but anytime that person wants to come on the show, I'll gladly take that person on the show.
But like, if you ever happen to watch one of his streams,
yes,
he has never drawn a bad drawing.
No.
And every drawing that he does is the next best thing he has ever done. And
this said person has retired from comics at Marvel, hasn't
yes. But like, I watch things and it's like, oh, this is the greatest thing I've ever like, blah, 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 blah. And then he sells it, and then he picks up the next one. He's like, this is the greatest thing I've ever drawn, blah, 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 and sells it for like $400. And I'm like, you know, humble.
Yes.
Humble and hungry is what that guy is.
Well, I'm going to say right now, Jesse, be humble. Okay. All you need to do is be humble.
If anything, I'm like, you really want to buy this from me? Cool.
Wait, I'm offering. You're willing to pay $20 for that? Cool. I thought. Sweet. I was hoping. I mean, I'll give you a discount if you want.
Yeah. We'll bundle. We'll bundle.
You didn't ask for a discount? I'll still give you a discount. Oh, you were gonna pay full price? Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Sounds like a place I used to work for. We weren't asking for a discount, but I gave you one anyways.
Yes, exactly.
But then I'm gonna bitch about not making enough money.
That's but the life we live. Jesse, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day and shooting the shit with talking about random stuff with us. And we'll definitely have you back on.
I think we covered the gambit.
I think we did.
Speaking of gambit, no, I'm just trying.
Thank you so much.
Have a good one.